Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for joining me on this week's episode of Coffee with CREN. Have you heard of InstaNet? Because, per our recent survey, a little over 30% of folks who took it didn't actually know that InstaNet existed, and another further 30% also didn't know how to use it and needed further training on it. So today, I just want to show you guys quickly how to access InstaNet, what it can do, and some just very basic tips on the program. In order to get to InstaNet, if you go up here to the toolbar and click on Resources, and then go down here to InstaNet right here, it'll automatically sign you in, even if it's a program that you have never used before. And you'll be presented with the home screen right here. So for you, you probably don't have anything within any of these boxes. I do just for testing purposes. But this is where you get greeted with your dashboard. It's got very simple stuff here. It's got your transactions, which is essentially everything from start to finish. You can create a transaction to kind of contain all of the forms and documents from beginning to end, from talks to close, however you want to put it. Your forms, these are just individual forms that may or may not have been modified within a transaction, and you can go into these forms and modify them from here. And then authenticing. Authenticing is what InstaNet uses in order to send contracts to buyers, sellers, agents, whoever it needs to, in order to get and obtain signatures on it. Over here on the left, you'll see two similar ones, transactions. This is where you can click to create them. And then authenticing is where you can click to just start assigning. So if you already have a form that needs to be signed, you can go straight to here. Email, this is where you can go to just quickly email some documents if you don't need to go through putting them in a transaction or editing the form. And then you can also upload your own documents here. You go to the upper left here and click this little 3 lines with an arrow. This will expand the left here. You'll see a couple of familiar things. Transactions, this is where you go to see all your transactions. Same thing here with signings. Forms is where you go to view every form that is available within InstaNet, which we'll go to that in a second. Documents, these can be documents that you uploaded or some that are default from your brokerage. You can use this to track your task. You can add your sellers, buyers, and agents here in contacts. Any clauses, templates that may have been given to you by your brokerage, and then, if applicable, the Partners tab. We're just going to quickly go through each of these tabs since this is a Coffee with CREN. We don't want it to be too long. If you go over here and you click on Transactions, this will list out every single transaction that you've ever had with an InstaNet, along with the Add button up here in the upper right. Along with, there's this How Do I button in many of the tabs that you go into, and if you click on this, this will actually bring you to a training page and allow you to learn stuff besides just this Coffee with CREN video. If you go back into here on the left, you can go to Signings. This is where you can see all of your signings, along with, are they in a draft status? Have they been sent, or have they been signed and completed? It'll show you how many participants there are and how many have completed the signing. Along with, you can hover over Show Participants and see who the participants are. The meat and potatoes of InstaNet, where everything is, if you click on Forms here, this is where you will find all of the different forms that you would need to fill out. So closings, agreements to amend, counter proposals, etc., along with listing contracts and that sort of thing further down. Lastly, the big thing I'll show you is documents. So if you have any documents here, you can either upload them straight through here, or you can go in and view all your folders. I, of course, don't actually have much in here, but you may have more, may have less, or you can just go ahead and add some into here. Up here, next to that arrow, you'll see this Transaction Desk button here. Mine's going to refresh because Transaction Desk is currently working on a new version. But for you, there will be a drop down here with a couple of different options to access the different features of InstaNet if your brokerage is with them. So for example, there's an upgraded version of this if it's available to you. However, the version that's available to everybody and every member of CREN includes all of the features that I showed here. Just a couple of quick things within these boxes here. Like I said earlier, this will show your most recent transactions, forms, and authenticing. You can click on any of these to just go straight into them. So for example, transactions, I can click on test there, and it'll just bring me straight into the transaction. And within here, you can see all forms related to the transaction, name of it up here, title orders, documents, a detailed overview. So as you add stuff to forms and documents, it'll automatically fill this up and more. Along with a little checklist here, you can create a checklist just to keep track of where you're at within the transaction. And then home warranty, if you have that or is applicable. You guys can't see it on the recording, but it's down there in the bottom left. Hopefully, this gets you a little more familiar with the Transaction Desk or InstaNet. I know it can be a little bit different from what you're probably used to, especially if you're coming from CTME, for example, but I highly suggest just coming in here and playing with it. You're more than likely not going to break anything by just adding yourself as a contact, for example, and doing some test transactions and authenticating just to see how it all works. And like I pointed out earlier, you'll see this little how do I question mark here kind of within the screen. You can click on it any time and it'll show you a bunch of different videos and tutorials on how to use Transaction Desk. If at any point you want further training or help, give CREN a call or shoot us an email. You know where to find us. Otherwise, I'll see you guys next week on the next episode of Coffee with CREN. Take it easy.